Hey everybody, it's Aldo Gandhi, and I just want to let you know really quickly that our swag shop is reopened. DeepDishTees.com is where you go, and that's tees with T-E-E-S. Clever name, guys. They're the new home of our merchandise. You can get t-shirts, you can get caps, you can get coffee mugs, you can get hoodies, you can get all sorts of good stuff, and you'll help out the bar room with the purchase. So head over to DeepDishTees.com.
This is the Bears Barroom Radio Network. The following program is recorded live and intended for all audiences.
Radio is scripted now. We just come up with it. We don't use computers. We don't rehearse. We're going to talk about this next. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Bulls. And then we're going to have Brad Bixon. And then we're going to have all this. No. If you don't know what you're going to talk about in the top of your head before a show, you shouldn't be in the business. I don't know what you got. I feel like Vince Vaughn in a couple's retreat. The Sharks are circling. Old school, baby.
You're listening to the Mike North Advantage, and it begins right now.
That's right. The Mike North Advantage starts right now. I am Aldo Gandia, Mike's wingman, and there's Mike North playing the drums. We got the drumsticks out. It's another one of the many talents that Mike North has. He can play air drums and air guitar and air anything. How are you, Mike?
Man, I was playing air drums when I was like 8, which was many years ago, to the massive beats of a Ringo Starr, if you will. I think I was a little bit older, but not much. Beatles, still the biggest phenomenon I've ever seen in my entire life as growing up as a kid. Mm-hmm. Every woman, every girl I knew was just infatuated with them. There were contests in all the magazines. They had magazines all over back then because we didn't have this. Tiger Beat, Teen Beat, this beat, that beat. You know what I mean? And it was like, I write the Beatles 10,000 times on one side of the paper. Buttons that said Beatles all over the place. Still the biggest phenomenon I've ever seen. They were on the Ed Sullivan Show. Then they made the tour. You couldn't hear them, but you then could hear their records. And I hear people say they like the Beatles that really don't, or some people say the Beatles are overrated, which is, look, I like the Stones better than the Beatles, but I'm not stupid enough to think that 4 guys that actually broke up and then built careers of their own individually, as big, some of them, like Paul McCartney, as his original career, if not bigger. Yeah. I'm not that dumb. So I do know how great they were. I understand it. I thought that they were average-looking guys. I didn't think they were Elvis. You know what I mean? When it comes to looks, Presley knocks them all out. Bottom line was, it was different. It was huge. And they have made, every singer in America, from Stevie Wonder to Frank Sinatra, has sang their songs. So let's knock off the nonsense that the Beatles were overrated. No, the Beatles took it from Elvis and ran about as fast as you could run.
There you go. I like the way you put that.
That's about it for today. Good night, everybody. I sound like Brian Epstein, who was the manager of the Beatles.
That's right, not the other Epstein guy.
I sound like I should be working for Capitol.
You know what? Not only do we talk sports here, but we talk music too. From now on, I'm going to send out teasers with saying that.
Guy says Buddy Guy. My guy says Buddy Guy. Good. I'll take the Beatles. You can have Buddy Guy. Okay? That's fine. I respect Buddy. He's doing well. God bless him. His music, along with all the other blues artists, are recognized. And it was the English invasion that helped recognize them. They went overseas and became even bigger phenomena. Muddy, don't talk blues with me. Muddy Waters. Are you kidding me? All these guys. All Checkerboard Records. Come on now. All right? Let's not go there. That's just the whole ball of wax. There's a movie out, Cadillac Records, that basically is about them. And, from Chuck Berry, who was legendary to everybody else who came through the south side of Chicago.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Mike, if you got to go to a deserted island. Oh, I'm hearing that damn echo again.
I don't. It's all good.
If you had to go to a deserted island and you were told you can only take one set of records, Frank Sinatra records or Elvis Presley records, because I know how much you love Frank. Who are you taking? Elvis?
Oh, I'm taking Presley. Really? I'm sorry. The man goes in 1955, walks in, he goes, "Excuse me, I think I got a good song," and boom. The next thing you know, I mean, they talk about Motown, and there's no doubt. I love Berry Gordy. I love Smokey Robinson, who I happen to have the opportunity to know and interview. And he was at one of the celebrity golf outings that I was covering. And Tom Dreesen introduced me to him. It was the best 20 minutes. Here I am. I talk about my friendship with the football players, but here I am. Jen Patterson tells me we were at the celebrity golf outing somewhere. I don't know if it was Bolingbrook, back when it was not just in Tahoe. They had one every other week, and all the big stars would come. Smokey Robinson was there. And Dreesen says, "Well, I'm best friends with Smokey, Mike, so I'll get him for you."
Nice.
Here comes Smokey Robinson. Now I'm a kid listening to Smokey Robinson, and I'm playing Tears of a Clown, okay, as a kid, over and over again. Because when we were kids, sometimes we only had a few records, and if we didn't like the B-side, we kept playing the A-side. That's the reason you bought it, okay? If you want to see an A-side record, that's why the Beatles were great, because like Presley also, your stars had both sides sometimes become number one hits. And there's only a couple of artists like that, maybe Elton John, Elvis Presley, the Rolling Stones, I think have done it a couple times, were A and B, but Your Love Keeps Lifting Me Higher by Jackie Wilson. Listen to the back of that record. Listen to the B record. Right. It's just average. Okay. So those were absolutely huge. So I'm just saying, I know my music, pal.
You sure do. And let me take you back to the past. Look at this old 45 record.
That's what I used to do.
That's right.
And you know what we would do? If we only had a couple records, sometimes you'd move the arm, and then it would keep playing the same record over and over again. I mean, Bernadette by the Four Tops. I love that. I love the Four Tops. I think they're as good as the Temptations were. But I would go to Langtry's and buy a single with bottles I collected for 39, and they were like 35, 39 cents a single. You're buying the Beatles, Paperback Writer and Rain, A-side, B-side, pretty damn good records, okay? I remember it. And I would play both sides, but I could ruin a decent record in 3 weeks just by playing it over and over again. I was that kind of goof.
King Pookie wants to know if you had any Richie Valens records.
Never was a big fan, but I loved the movie. I liked his movie. I like Donna. I like some of the songs that he made, but I was never a huge fan, But God bless, I loved Lou Diamond Phillips as him.
Richie Valens' career went up in flames, right?
Yeah, and the Big Bopper went up, and so, but Buddy Holly lost. Waylon Jennings was supposed to be on that flight. Okay, him and I think Richie Valens. I think it was Waylon Jennings coin flipped. And Jennings won by losing. So he didn't get on that flight, and then it crashed.
Wow, I did not know that. I did not.
Well, that's what I'm here for, Aldo. I can fill you in. What's next? We don't want to. We can talk about maybe sports, if anything decent's going on. Oh, wait. I hear it. By the way, great job with Bruce Wolf.
Oh,
I want to compliment you.
Thank you.
I watched the interview, and it helps to be a fan, but it helps to be a good interviewee. And Bruce was great. He was open. We're going to do him a favor today. I guess he's going to the game tonight, the White Sox game, and they've been struggling lately, but he wanted to hear a podcast where we'll give him a rundown of the White Sox. And so all he has to do is check out the bar room later on in the show. When we start talking about the White Sox, he'll have the whole lowdown on them.
Hey, Mike, back to music, and thank you for the compliment on Bruce Wolf. But
okay, yeah, it was great.
Q says, I just got back into vinyls. He's got Prince and Michael Jackson and Al Green on vinyl. Isn't it amazing how this has come back? I threw away nearly 1,000 vinyl albums. Threw them practically. I sold some, and the ones that I couldn't sold, like about 400 or 500, I just threw them away. What an idiot I was.
I wasn't a big Prince fan. I was a Michael Jackson fan. But I liked Michael Jackson when he was 7, telling people what to do and where to stand. And he knew the song by heart.
Yes.
the whole thing. I mean, he was like a genius. Okay. I think that Prince, look, people are going to, it's cool to like Prince.
Mm-hmm.
I liked Little Red Corvette. I liked a couple of his hits.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I liked his band. I liked the chicks in his band.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. The ladies, they were hot. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
I saw Purple Rain. I will never see it again. That's all. You could run me over with his motorcycle if I have to see that movie again. But I respect the man for what he did. But let me tell you about Al Green. When I was in the service,
Yeah.
that's when it was big.
Mhm.
Al Green. Al Green's also famous for his wife. I don't know if they're still married. I know he found religion after she found out he was allegedly messing around on her, and he was taking a bath and she dumped hot grits all over him.
Oh, no.
And all of a sudden that made him find religion. But as good a singer, Al Green, the Pride and Joy, another Memphis, Tennessee guy. Don't even get me going. I know more about music than I do about sports. I'm like a triple option. You can do the wishbone with me. Sports, politics, I mean, the music, entertainment. Al Green was one of my favorites. I'll tell you the guys, Everybody Plays the Fool by the Main Ingredient.
Uh-huh.
Johnny Rivers got me through the service. Poor Side of Town, and a lot of other good songs. Johnny Rivers sings Motown covers. Very, very good. The Stylistics, Russell Tompkins Jr.
Love him.
And that crew. Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, headlined by Teddy Pendergrass, who went on to fame until he tragically passed away. So, I mean, I love all that stuff. I mean, I'm a soul man. You know, they call, before there was white chocolate, there was me. And I love soul music more than I love the English Invasion. That's for damn sure.
Are you going to see the new Aretha Franklin movie that's coming out pretty soon?
Man, I want to love her so much, but I just was not a fan.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean Dionne Warwick to me is my girl. Okay, nothing against Aretha, but if you hear I say a little prayer for you. Aretha sings it great, but so does Dionne Warwick.
Absolutely.
Okay, Dionne Warwick to me is huge in my world, and after her, then it's Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston to me is the greatest female singer who's ever lived. I've heard them all. I don't want to hear Barbra Streisand. I don't want to hear Judy Garland. I don't want to hear, the old, Gladys Knight I love. Believe me, I love Rita Coolidge, Karen Carpenter. I know them all. Cher, know them all. Whitney Houston, hands down. If I had to say, whose career do you want to manage? You just say, I'd first have something happen to Bobby Brown. Okay? Then, I can't stand the guy. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
but I'm sorry. I just can't. As soon as she hooked up with him, things went awry.
Yeah.
As soon as she hooked up with him, and the kid's gone too. I love Whitney Houston. Tina Turner and Ike were good. They had a couple hits, Mule Skinner, but I met Tina Turner. This is the best. I step out of this, what XRT was right next to us. Okay, we had like a hallway separating us. Okay, with doors. Me and Dan Jiggets are on the air, and Tina Turner is walking down the hall as I'm walking out to go use the washroom.
Wow. I
go, holy Christ. I go, hi, Miss Turner, Mike North. Hi, Mike. How couldn't have been nicer. Looked amazing.
Yeah.
93, 94. So I got it. She signed, I don't even know where it's at. I'll show it next week.
Okay.
Mike, I love you, Tina Turner, on a brand new 16-inch clincher.
How cool.
Yeah, she was awesome. But I don't put her career was amazing. And she went through hell, if you've seen the documentary. I respect her very much. But Whitney Houston's my girl, man. I got to go like this. This is weird for people, but if you saw Tommy Boy, the Carpenters, man. I mean, Karen Carpenter, I'm sorry. I have Whitney Houston 1, okay? I have Karen Carpenter number 2. Man, some of their songs are just amazing. The production by her brother is just tantalizing. And then for number 3, I'm partial to Rita Coolidge. She was on, I interviewed Rita,
Mm-hmm.
She's had a great, crazy life too. She was married to Chris Christopherson, one of the Highwaymen. So, yeah, I mean, I love music, man. Music pulled me through a lot of tough spots, as it has millions of Americans.
Mm-hmm.
When you had nothing going for you but those records, and you could get away from everything for a while, you could play the Supremes, who I love. Diana, I didn't list her. Diana Ross, top 5 in my world. Petula Clark, still performing. If I ever go back to Vegas, she's like 77 years old. She was at the Orleans last I heard. I'd go check her out. Wow. Amazing talent.
She's still
Petula Clark.
Yeah.
Yeah. I checked it out. You can check her out. You can check all these people on YouTube. You youngsters out there, you want to see real singing with no acoustics and all this nonsense? Check out Barry Gordy's people. Check out all of them. Streisand, Judy Garland, to me, overrated. I'm sorry. Can't show up to things. I'm sorry. I love Doris. Hey, if you like old school, you know what's amazing? Doris Day's schedule was as tough as Judy Garland's, and she made everything. Judy Garland had issues. And if you saw the movie Judy, Renee Zellweger, who I'm not a huge fan of, she's unbelievable. She deserved every award that she won. She looks exactly like Judy Garland, man.
Yeah, I still have not seen that movie. You've recommended.
Oh, Aldo, go see it. I mean, I'm not a Zellweger fan. I didn't even like her that much in Cinderella Man. BB says, me and BB, we watch movies. He says, she's all right. I mean, to me, Lana Turner is the be-all, end-all, and The Postman Always Swings Twice, because she plays herself. Yeah. She plays herself. It was not a stretch for her to want to kill somebody, in my opinion. That's just me. And she was great. And then you got so many wonderful performances. Check them all out.
We have gotten a clinic, a history lesson on music here, the first 20 minutes or so of the Mike North Advantage, brought to you by WinDailySports.com. Make sure you visit at WinDailySports on the Twitter machine. And now let's talk a little bit about those Chicago Cubs, because we have not talked since that massive roster dump by the Cubs. They traded Chris Bryant, Javier Baez, Anthony Rizzo. It's considered the biggest roster dump in the history, and there goes my bad spelling again, in the history of the franchise. Your thoughts on that massive trade by the Cubbies?
Nothing's more sickening to me than to watch them hit home runs and have to watch it and everybody going, see, they didn't do it enough together. See, you know what? I'm sorry, they're going for contracts.
Right.
And Jed Hoyer, to me, let the cat out of the bag by saying they would have been better off signing their extensions. Now, that doesn't mean they're not going to. If Rizzo keeps hitting homers and keeps driving in at least one run a game every game, then he's going to get his money. I think he's perfect for New York. Italian kid, Tino Martinez type of player, good glove man. I think out of all three guys, this is the truth, folks, if his back doesn't act up, Anthony Rizzo's in the best spot. I mean, but they got a lot of big contracts out there. But if he finds a place in New York, signs a couple-year deal, and ends up hitting, he could be the first baseman for the next 5 years. I mean, if I'm building a team, I like to have a solid first baseman. The problem is he's got some injuries.
Right.
He seems more interested now. It's going to follow him. They didn't get it done for the 4 or 5 years after the championship, but now they're perking up. Bryant, I thought the Cubs wanted to move, did class moves. I thought Chris Bryant brought up a great statement that the Cubs did everything to put them where they wanted to go. They treated them like champions. They moved Kimbrel because he's got a child that has an health issue. They kept him in Chicago. Bryant wanted to play on the West Coast. Rizzo wanted to go, has relatives out there, and Baez has a buddy in Lindor. So they took care of everybody. See you later. I'm not against the rebuild because I think Jed Hoyer and me are pretty smart together. I think if you put Jed Hoyer with me, he starts to look more credible. I'm with him when he said to himself, I'm not wasting $500, $600 million on these three. They've had 4 other years to prove what they can do. It didn't work out. I can't win with these guys. Now, it's because of him, too, and because of Theo. They got rid of, Darvish. I didn't like when they got rid of Arrieta. at the beginning. I thought that sent a bad message. But the Schwarber thing blew up in their face. Castellanos didn't get signed. So I think they put up the white flag. You could raise the white flag, but you could raise it just high enough where somebody's going, is that a white flag? I can't see it for sure. That's what they did. They had it all hooked up, ready to go.
Yep.
And now, then they hire Ross, who to me is a buddy. And I've been critical of this since the beginning. I called it again. If you're going to have a buddy manage, he can't tell Rizzo to hustle. He can't tell Baez to throw his jersey out of his pants and start swearing. He did it last night for the Mets. Now he's rocking against the Marlins. So, I mean, so he can get all jacked up, and he's going to get himself killed one of these days. He's going to run into the wrong team with the wrong pitcher that don't like him. And a lot of players probably don't like that bravado. And some of the Latino players don't like that bravado. You know, don't ever, you know, the famous scene is when Batista tried to beat up Odor from Texas, and Odor just jacked him up. So there's players that don't like that stuff and that backflipping stuff. So you got to be careful. That being said, I'm glad the Cubs got rid of him.
So what's realistic here, Mike, in terms of them rebuilding the team and building a playoff contender? Can they do it in a year, or is it more like 3 or 4 years?
3 or 4. You know what? But I'm willing to wait it out, because I'll be honest with everybody. Oh, I always am. That's why me and Eldo go, are we ready? I go, yeah. I was exhausted from this Cub team. I was tired from this Cub team. The last 4 or 5 years seemed like 10. I hate failed expectations. I hate it. They were expected to do more. That's it. And they didn't. They all failed. From the top to the bottom. They all failed. When you're expected to be a stud and you don't do it, and by the way, Rizzo sucked this year, for my opinion. He didn't start hitting homers till the end, till the barn door was closed.
Right.
Bryant didn't excite me all that much. I don't care what his numbers are, you know. But I think it was time for all of them to separate. And now they'll all be in pennant races, so the Cubs took care of them. But I think if you're not a Cub fans of that, look, if you're 25 and under, okay, you're the ones that are mad. You're the privileged, okay? You've never seen them really, or if you're 20 and under, okay? But half those people were at Lollapalooza going, was that a jet? You know? I mean, the next day. They had no idea. The same people crying on Twitter were at Lollapalooza, going, who's Journey? You know what I'm saying? Who's Blondie? Oh, me. What kind of song is that? She looks like she's old enough to be my mother. And I don't have a mask on, but damn it, the Cubs screwed up.
Mule Skinner reminds us that Jason Hayward is still with the Chicago Cubs.
They can't give him away?
No. He's
been a disaster. I don't care. I know they won, but they can't give him away.
Yep.
Nobody wants to even take his contract up. He can't hit. I don't care. And, they won the deal. That's why he's been living a honeymoon. Yeah. But nobody's writing about him. He's been utter for that kind of money. He's fallen on his face. Yeah. You got to expect more than what he's doing. Yeah. I know he's a good defensive player, but you got that money, man. And by the way, John R. Hagan Jr., I want to thank you for bringing this up. Not only on the Bears Barroom did I say this, but Jonas Knox, I was on Fox Sports Radio this past week.
Okay.
Where I got to promote Win Daily, where I got to promote Bear Barroom, where I got to promote all our projects. Nice. And he couldn't have been nicer. And he said, I remember having a conversation with you. And you said to me, you know what, Jonas? And here's when I said it. And he told me it. And we agreed. Because I sort of remembered it. It was when they walked down from the scoreboard and they were telling everybody that they were tired, that it was going to be a hangover year, that it was a grueling to win your first championship in 108 years. It was grueling coming down with your gold numbers on the back of your jerseys. Champions. It was grueling. So, Madden doesn't say anything about that. Captain Rizzo doesn't say anything about that. And you're saying, well, what was he supposed to, what are they supposed to say? Shut up. We're going for a second one. What is all this crybaby stuff? Nobody said anything. The media gave them the usual cast of characters, the people that wanted, we'll talk Bears later. The people that wanted everybody from Cutler on, the media. And the media didn't say crap. They bought in because the media was tired. Oh, exhausting. I said to Jonas Knox, they're going to be the 85 Bears. They're going to be the 85 Bears because football teams don't give that crap excuse. Baseball teams, you're tired from what? You know what I mean? Exactly. And then you had other things happen with the Zobrist situation. He has to retire. Yeah. Don't tell me that didn't hurt the baseball team.
Big time.
You know? How bad was that?
Awful.
How bad was she? I mean, my God, the pastor and the wife. How bad was that? And the pastor's counseling the husband, saying, here's what you got to do better at. All right, go home. All right, get in here. Come on. How do you go over that? You can't go up the bat. You know, Pete Rose once said this to me. I don't know to this extent. I go, Pete. And he said this in other interviews. I've read it, but he said it to me because it was a stock line for him. I go, when you were going through your divorces, how was it you were hitting like 300? He goes, can you imagine if I was hitting 190? So he had the opposite view. You want a divorce, we see you. I'm going to keep playing my game. I get away from it all. Look, I love what I do. There were times I had situations. I came on the air. You forget about things. Yeah. You pick up your game. That's your 4 hours of like rest. Okay. If you're hungover, if you did something wrong, if the management's mad at you, if you're taking heat from a sponsor, if you're hearing from this person or that person or this group or that group, you know, it came from all levels. Right. I went on the air. I still had the mic. And you want to pick up your game during those times, and some people just can't because some things are just even worse than you think, period.
Yep. So you're absolutely right. Well, so you had this prediction that the Cubs were the 85 years, and that was
Jonas Knox brought it up the other day right all over the nation. He said, this is the guy that said they'd be one-hit wonders. But I did say it was possible for them to win one more, and I never gave up hope.
Right.
But I heard that excuse crap. Oh, that's why Joe Maddon's gone. I thought they would name like part of Chicago after him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
He had a restaurant. Things were rolling. It's like he never managed here. And then we got to look at the guy in the dugout now. If I knew it was going to come to that, I would have let this guy Maddon ride it out with this team. But it seemed to be management didn't take a liking to the way things were going.
Yeah.
They seemed to think maybe a change up would do them better. And I don't know if Maddon made the right move. He succeeded here. He won a world championship.
Yep.
Okay. But we couldn't wait to get rid of him. And now I'm looking at what I'm looking at.
Now you're looking at what you're looking at. I love that line.
Yeah. Over by there.
On the south side, are you concerned at all about the White Sox? Let's see. I wrote down here somewhere. Yeah, they're under 500 since the break, and so things are starting to get a little concerning. Lucas Giolito gets rocked again. He's had a couple of good outings, but a few bad ones. Where's your level of concern with the Chicago White Sox right now?
I think Lance Lynn and Rodon got to change it up. They got to get going. They got to be the dominant ones. Keuchel, I think, has lost a lot of his effectiveness, but he's a pro. Giolito's the fourth best pitcher to me right now. I think that he's a guy that had maybe 1 year.
Right.
I mean, they got commercials about him now, and he was, you know, a bad pitcher. Now he's an all-star. Right. Now he's a bad pitcher sometimes. Right. Again, you don't like who's beating them. But they got an easy division, which they'll win. I mean, I don't know if all the other teams are under 500. I haven't looked. But I will tell you this, that the bottom line is that when you see that Giolito's struggling, when I think a lot of people expected him to be 1 or 2, that's a problem. And also, they're not hitting a whole lot. You know, they haven't scored a first inning run in a long time. This is for Bruce Wolf. This is all this information. But I remember somebody brought it up the other day. I was on Fred Hubner's podcast. God bless. Good job for Fred. We talked about the fact that they haven't scored a lot of runs.
Yep.
That there's a problem with Tim Anderson's not doing what everybody thought he would do.
Right.
So Fred brought up, we remember when they had a 15-16 game lead in 2005.
Right.
And we almost blew that whole thing.
Yeah.
So it's possible it could happen. I just think the teams that are behind them are not good enough. I'm glad they're in this division because a lot of the bad baseball. Minnesota, every time I bet them, I've had a miserable couple days. Every time I bet them, they had a lead the other night. They give it up in the ninth. Baldelli, that he's still got a job is amazing to me.
Yeah.
I did see La Russa the other night when he shoved the catcher. I thought he was out of line. I love Tony La Russa.
Mm-hmm.
But I got people trying to wait. I'm the number one La Russa man in town.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll understand this because I've defended him through thick and thin.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like Mitch Trubisky.
Right.
I defend these guys. But if you can't read the room, okay, and the first reaction is to go shove the opponent's catcher when the ball clearly got away, the pitcher was despondent.
Mm-hmm.
The catcher goes to his aid to pick him up. Are you okay? Call somebody over. And La Russa shoves him?
Mm-hmm.
He could have started, it almost started a riot. He was out of line in that play. Because let's go to Little League. If your son gets beamed and the manager of your team goes after the catcher of the other team, with parents the way they are today, you'll be gone.
Yep.
How can you not look at little Jimmy, my son?
Mm-hmm.
How can you just shove the opponent's catcher? Now you caused another problem. So I thought La Russa was way out of line. Stone sort of defended him by saying, well, we don't need you over here. No, that's not what he did, Steve. He went right up, and you know what? Hernandez could have dropped him. The catcher.
Yeah.
Could have dropped him. Like a la Don Zimmer with Pedro Martinez, who was out of line. Don Zimmer was out of line. You're charging somebody, you're going down. That's what La Russa almost started. And there, so there's no kissing ass here. It was it was a Bush League play. It was.
Yeah.
And I love him.
And the one thing I will say is, boy, that looked like a terrible potential injury. So
of course it did.
He might have gotten caught up with, one of my star players. His head is rolling around on the infield, so he could have been reacting to that emotion.
Well, I don't know what the catcher has to do with it. I don't think the catcher called a beating to the head, but if he wants to go, I think that And here's another thing: they don't have Terry Francona there. Because it might have been a different story because it took them 10 to 15 seconds for the interim manager, whoever the hell he is, to run out there. Right. If Francona's there, La Russa's got a problem. There's going to be a meeting because Francona is more established. He's got a gauge on things. He's a World Series manager. There's been a few, just like Tony La Russa. Mm-hmm. So, arguably they're two of the best managers in baseball. So that might have been a different story. I just thought it was Bush. That's all.
Yeah. I'm not arguing with you.
Yeah.
I thought it was.
I know you could say emotions, or I don't, but I can't give him that excuse.
Yeah,
he knows what he's doing. I'm the one that says he's got all his marbles, so I'm not going to say he lost his head and stuff like that. You're right. There should be bench coaches down there that should say that. Now, I just think that if the catcher's not kneeling over the guy trying to help him, then I could, if the catcher just goes, see, like that, points down at the guy, then you attack the catcher. But when the catcher is the first guy going, oh my God, then the pitch got away. And I think that's the only thing that made him look bad. That's all.
Yeah, I'm with you. Now, a team that is looking pretty good, in my opinion, after what they've done the last few days, the Chicago Bulls, they've acquired Lonzo Ball, DeMar DeRozan, Alex Caruso. It looks like this new management team is really aggressive with player personnel moves. What say you about the new roster?
Well, first of all, NBA money, TV with 4 different channels, and they support the WNBA. They would have closed down, I think, 19 years ago out of the 20 had they not had them. They got so much money. They change uniforms every game. But you know when it really hits you that they got so much money? When Alex Caruso gets $37 million. Now, first of all, let me just say this. Lonzo Ball, okay. I lost track of you. I know you changed up your shot. I'm glad they added him.
Yeah.
DeMar DeRozan, great little athlete,
Good shot, shooter.
Good shooter, mid-range, nice. I even like Alex Caruso, but the money is ridiculous.
Oh my God.
I don't care what anybody says. People look at it now and they just go, okay, he got 37 million. This guy got 37 million. I know you have to be good to play in the NBA, but there are some players that you don't just give that kind of money to.
It doesn't make sense to me either.
I mean, that's just me. Now I applaud the Bulls. They're going to be a playoff team. Milwaukee is one player from an injury from going into the pits. That would be, of course, the Freak. Boston got rid of Kemba Walker, or he got rid of himself.
Right.
I love what the Bulls have done. I love AK. Okay, Billy Donovan's got a roster. I don't want to hear no crap.
Yes.
If they don't make the playoffs, okay, shame on them. They're getting what they want. I don't want to hear it. Levine has automatically become a better player. My situation is this. When you add players to your roster, and they may be in their situation as good as your star, then that star may jump down a notch. Now, I'm not saying DeRozan is that way or Lonzo Ball.
Sure.
But at least they're in the conversation now when it comes to, I think they got a medium height 3. Okay. They're not the best 3. The Lakers probably got that right now. I love that they got Westbrook, but I'm very happy with what the Bulls have done. I really am.
Yeah, I am too. What do you think about what King Pookie Nation posted? Do you think that Lonzo Ball's dad could be a distraction for a team? You've been around clubhouses.
Yeah.
You've been with the Bears, and you know the chemistry inside a locker room. You think there could be a disruptive force with a parent kind of hanging around and saying things?
Nah, I don't think so. I think he's been tamed a little bit. The media kisses his rear end. He said some outlandish things, but I think his kids have weathered the storm pretty good. I think he says he taught his kids everything. Well, you did a good job. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be a disruptor. I don't think I've heard too much about him. But I do like the fact that the Bulls are being active. They see what they have in that division, in that conference, and they say, look, let's go for it now. You can't have another 20-win season, 21-win season. You know what I mean?
He says you should hang out with Lonzo Ball's dad for a day, and you'll set him straight.
Well, I mean, if I ever interviewed, I'd tell him, look. I just think I never asked to interview the guy. I really don't. I mean, I knew Michael Jordan's father. I had Michael Jordan's father on here, so shut up about who your kid is. Okay?
Yeah.
I had James on. James and I were friends. James and I went partying together a couple times.
Cool.
Right there on Milwaukee Avenue and Lawrence. They had a big party at a bar that's no longer there. He told me, Mike, listen, we're going to have a party. It's on the download, but let some people know. I go, well, James, how's it on the download if I'm going to let people know? And he just looked at me. He goes, you know what I mean? Just invite a few people. Because they wanted a crowd at this bar. Yeah. And and it was a white plank board bar, Milwaukee, right off of Montrose, between Montrose and Lawrence. I go in there. Brad Sellers is walking in there. Dennis Hopkins. I mean, this is back in the day.
Wow.
I think it was Hopkins, wasn't it? Was it?
Yeah, he was with the team for a while.
Yeah, I think that's his name. I forget. I mean, it goes way back. I mean, some of the Bulls came in. Michael came in there at the end. There was a pool table at the joint. James was there. We had some brews together. Great guy. Great guy. Living the life. living the life.
Was Mr. Jordan drinking some Old Crow whiskey? Apparently, that may have been his drink.
He was just a good guy, man. Good party. I didn't really see him over imbibe or anything because I was probably over imbibing. So we had the time of our lives. Like I said, some of the Bulls came in, and it was a good time. So I like James. But don't tell me about Alonzo Ball. This guy, I hung out with Jordan's dad.
Well, another guy that you hung out with and as a buddy of yours is Jimbo Covert, who will be enshrined into the Pro Football Hall of Fame on Saturday. He was part of the Centennial class from 2020, but those festivities were delayed because of COVID. What do you think about Jimbo finally making it to the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
I really was mad at the football writers in this town for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Because he should have been in the Hall of Fame already.
Mm-hmm.
I saw Richard Dent go in. Okay. Saw Hampton go in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Saw Singletary go in. Okay. I get it. Saw Walter go in. I think the problem was that Jimbo wasn't a guy that crowed,
Right.
that talked, but he's the best left tackle I ever saw. I know Anthony Munoz. I've heard all that. They led the league in rushing almost every year.
Mm-hmm.
They ran many Walter Payton runs to Jimbo Covert's side. Lawrence Taylor played Jimbo Covert, I think, 4 times. Never heard his name. Never got a sack. So it used to anger me. Now, these guys, I mean, all familiar names, good guys.
Mm-hmm.
Been around. Danny Pompei, I used to say, Danny, can't we get him in? And they got him in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how he got in.
Mm-hmm.
He finally got in. So you know what? It's all good. But he should have been in earlier, man.
Yeah.
I mean, my God. Ditka started him from day one as a rookie. And he handled the best. And you didn't hear his name.
Right.
Very few holding calls. Very few mistakes. Guy was Danny Marino's roommate and blocker in college. I mean, he had all the credentials, but he didn't. I remember the night the National Italian Hall of Fame, me and him and Dan Marino in a back room having beers together. I'm sitting there with these 2 guys. They're talking about stuff. I'm right with them.
No.
I'm just enjoying the conversation. So I thought he should have been in a lot earlier, but he didn't get in. But I'm glad he's in now. Good, congratulations to him. Yeah, look at all these guys.
Now, you mentioned some of these names. Covert is the 7th player or coach from that 85 Super Bowl Bears team. Richard Dent, Mike Ditka, Hampton, as you mentioned, Peyton, Singletary, and somebody that I never would have guessed, the offensive line coach at the time, Dick Stanfield. I think, you know, he had a long career outside of the Chicago Bears and stuff. So,
yeah, but he also coached Jimbo Covert.
That's right.
You know, I mean, and in a pretty good offensive line of Mark Bortz, Jay Hilgenberg.
Right.
I mean, these guys were studs. I mean, McMahon got hurt a lot of times because of himself, you know, and because he wanted to win so bad. So, to me, you know, I thought he should have gotten in earlier, but I'm happy he's in.
Yeah. Mike, I went to Family Fest at
saw it.
Field on Tuesday, and I got to tell you, I was so irritated with the whole thing. I'm like, why did I drive all the way down here for this? Why?
Well, first of all, let me just interrupt you real quick, pal, because you know you're my buddy. And you know what? I know that, look, the Bruce Wolf interview is great.
Thank you.
You doing videos
Mm-hmm.
was fantastic.
Thank you.
Now, because you get a feel. Now, I saw the guy from Barstool, Dave Portnoy. I love the guy. Great guy.
Excellent.
He's put together. I mean, what he's done, I love.
Outstanding.
It's something that, you know, you can appreciate. He goes against the big boys, you know. He says, okay, you're a big boy, I'm a big boy. That's good. I mean, I know Danny, you know, Big Cat. I mean, I had him on WIND. I wish I only knew more about him at the time. I would have interviewed him different. You know, it was more of a straight-laced type of thing. We had some fun. But I admired the guy. But he did say nothing is more irritating or nothing is more ridiculous than watching training camp video and practice. And at first I agreed. But then I said, but at the time I was watching axe throwing on TV.
Yeah.
They got cornhole. There could be nothing in my world. Okay. I understand where Dave's coming from.
Yes.
I understand where he's coming from because, you know, to me, I said the other day, I threw a pass to myself on video and caught it 7 yards down. threw it in the air and caught it. I'm going to have Aldo maybe run it. That's how, because Justin Fields throwing with nobody on him to some coach 7 yards down the line is stupid. It looks stupid. But then, I see the stuff I watch on a daily basis.
Right.
From axe throwing to cornhole. You know what I mean?
Yes, I know what you're
I'm watching. I'm watching. Stuff from the Olympics.
Yeah, bodybuilder competition.
Yeah,
hauling
wrestling. I'm going. Come on, throw me the videos. So I understand where he's coming from, but there's worse than that.
Yes, I have been contending for a while now. I don't know why they can't get some station in town to pay to telecast Family Fest. They've already got the cameras there. They're covering everything on the big screen scoreboards. I'm sure some station will pay them $10,000 so that they can show it, because there's diehard Bears fans who can't make it to Soldier Field. It's a weekday. That's another weird thing. They have it on a weekday during business hours.
It wasn't even crowded.
There was like probably less than 6,000 people. The Green Bay Packers get 66,000 people for their family day, and we get 6. That's a management issue. That's not because the fans don't care. So I was so irritated by so much of what went on, and the play.
What else?
Some of the play of the players. The offense doesn't look like it's ready for week 1. They've got a lot of work to do. The offensive line, there's none of the guys that are supposed to start at the tackle position, Mike, have played a lick this preseason. They haven't played a single down. So I don't know how they're going to protect whoever the quarterback is. I don't care if Justin Fields can escape any kind of pressure. He's going to be running for his life if he gets in there. And poor Andy Dalton.
That's right.
It's crazy.
Yeah, well, I would like to say this. First of all, you're the master. You can take a rise out of somebody if you want. Now, I see this thing from Aldo, folks. This is one of the best. And it says Trubisky, 1 of 13. Boy, who's ever defending him has to see this. So I've been really good on Twitter. Wait. Now, I know exactly who he was talking to. And and I know you were talking to a couple others, but I don't have many people that have been as passionate about Mitch. Now, I happen to know, that stat, 1 of 13 of on throws over 25 yards. There was a couple drops, but he didn't get a lot out of 300 passes. So then I tell Aldo that I said, you know what, he threw 300 some passes, and David Robinson, Allen Robinson caught 102, and he said, but most of those passes were behind the line. I go, not from Allen Robinson. So we had some fun with it. But I'm going to tell you something. I'm seeing certain biases, not from you, but it was who you decided to bring in with you. Hey, Dan Orlovsky, you brought in Dan. Now, Dan is an excellent analyst, okay?
Yes.
But Dan will tell you this. He's a pimple on Mitch Trubisky's career as a player. That's the problem. It's not what you said. It's who you decided to say it with. Because Dan, I love him as a commentator. Love him. Look at that. Look at that guy.
That's the stat that I put up. And it was because Dan Orlovsky had it up on his show. So that's why.
Okay, but so then I decided, now this is, like I said, the worst thing Dan's got going for him is when he states good points like that, you look him up. Okay?
No, you're absolutely right.
I give him credit. I think he has 15 touchdowns and 13 interceptions, but he was like 2 and 10 as a starter. Right. He had a lower yards per catch rate. I mean, he was terrible. I watched him. Yes. But he played for a terrible organization.
Right.
So when he takes shots at Trubisky could just look at the TV and go, this guy played in the league and look what he did. That being said, that's a legitimate thought. But my point was, what's the piling on about? He's gone. Now it's time, as you brought up, to worry about the garbage. And I mean garbage we may have waiting for us. Not necessarily that the quarterbacks are bad, but that the maybe line is bad. Maybe the defense isn't what it was supposed to be. Maybe our returners will not be as good as they were. Maybe our field goal kicker doesn't have the dream year that he had. And what I'm hearing from you is, it's not just the quarterback situation, but I heard Justin Fields just looked okay. I saw one guy on Twitter go, that was a high pass but catchable. No, it was a high pass Leave it alone. Because you wouldn't have given other people that consideration, but it was Justin Fields. To me, if it's Andy Dalton, Dalton throws an overthrow. And that's the end of that. So we know there's media bias. What did you see from Fields, Els? What did you see? Did you see a man that is destined for Canton?
Right. Well, no. I was sitting next to Danny Shimon, who's one of our scout analysts.
Danny.
Professional scout. He gets paid to scout players. And so he's telling me he's holding on to the ball too long. He's still learning where guys are going and the pass patterns and so forth. He's not processing as quickly as you want to. Danny assured me he'll get it, but it's going to take a little while. And that's exactly what I saw too. He's got all the athletic skills. He's a great personality, great leader, but it's going to take a little while. Right now, Andy Dalton is ahead of Justin Fields. There's no denying that.
I know, and you got to look at it realistically. We want to win. Nagy needs to win. Nagy can't bring Fields in right away. You know that. I got the tenor. This was the first year, and I know this. I saw other people just shooting video. But to me, moving from Bourbonnais, I wasn't a fan of that. The Lake Forest practices, I guess, were just a debacle for fans, right? They had nobody there. It's like they didn't want anybody to come, right?
Exactly. They gave out I think it's 600-800 tickets, and only 100 or 200 people show up. And so there's a story about Matt Nagy walking over to the 100 or 200 people and telling them to make noise. And the field is like about 200 yards away. So it's like they can't see. What are they going to make noise about? Because they've got like multiple fields. And so it's a mess. Typical Bear stuff. Typical.
Yeah.
Bear.
Yeah. It's just sad what's happened. I mean, I loved it when Platteville had it.
Yep.
I mean, I loved it. And I loved that.
I never went there. So tell me about.
Oh, let me tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
I went to La Crosse one year because what happened was Ditka got shipped out and then he became coach of the Saints.
Right.
I argued with the station. They said, you can't do that. I go, are you kidding me? You go send the other shows if you want with Wannstedt. Go ahead. Send them. You got to follow the Bears. Mm-hmm. But to me, going with Ditka will bring that audience in. More than half the fans were pissed that Ditka was let go.
Right.
Okay. I knew Wannstedt was never going to succeed. I knew it. I knew it. So I go, I'll go with them. So they had Heath Schuler. They had people on that team with just most of the, Kyle Turley, other guys like that. They were okay. Mm-hmm. But we got sponsors. I mean, it turned into a packed house. Mm-hmm. Ditka did his 15 minutes with me every damn show. Awesome. It turned into gold. So they were happy. The only thing they weren't happy about is one of our sponsors was Old Style. And they had just laid off 500 workers from guess where? Where I was at, La Crosse. Okay? No. And I buried them for firing 500 people. Mm-hmm. And man, I got in a little bit of trouble because they were paying. Yeah, I mean, there were 500 people put out of work in one day. That was my deal. So
you said it right
I felt bad for him. I said it on the air. I said, but they're here to sponsor us, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. But it was a bad day at La Crosse, a bad couple of days for people there. It really was. So that was the only downside to that whole thing because you always have to face the salespeople. Real nice lady. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite people. It doesn't matter who she was. And that's my sponsor. That's when you'd feel bad. I got that sponsor. Well, you got it. We weren't even going to go there. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So that's exactly how that happened. Well, I got 1 million of them.
Yeah, you got 1 million of them, and you recently shared one with me. As people know, you and I have been working on a very, very special project.
30 years, baby.
Right. And it's funny that you bring up the Score Sports Radio because it's one of the greatest stories in broadcast history. Anywhere around the world.
A lot of people still don't know about it.
Exactly. So let me play a little tease, and then on the other end, we'll talk about it.
When I saw that, I said, Jesus, they should start a sports station. To myself, in the back room of my hot dog stand, reading the Sun-Times and Rob Feeder. I'll never forget it. And I go, B, look at this. The XRT guys are going to start a jazz and country station. That's disastrous, I said. I mean, who wants to hear a jazz station? What the hell is that? And B goes, well, what, do you have any suggestions? I go, yeah, sports station. And she just looked at me. She goes like that. Like that. That's sort of like, not a bad idea. And I got to remember, B was basically the only person in the communist bloc countries and the free world that thought I had any kind of brain. Seriously.
Wow. You know what? You are something else. You know what? You mean bring a tear to my eye, man. Like yesterday, it was beautiful. I mean, the whole thing. And you know what? I just talked to and I'm going to have her on a podcast. I just talked to Danny Lee's widow, and Karen, and she called me, and it's not right now anything. We talked for about 15 or 20 minutes because Danny passed away.
Right. And Danny was the owner of the radio station.
XRT, and he heard me out, and he decided to go with it against most of the wishes of not only the sales staff, but the people that were involved in the music. They said they knew nothing about how to do it. He says, we better learn. And I mean, great people like Norm Weiner and Harvey Wells, and, you know, that worked there. Great radio people, but they were music people. Michael Damsky, they were music people. And Danny goes, well, the word is that from what I understand from Danny, who I have 3 hours of stuff on, of Danny Lee, we went to his office, did not want to be taped, but we wrote it down with my buddy Jeremy Morrison and his wife, who will be on, hopefully, on a podcast down the line, was there anyway. And he goes, well, we better learn how to do sports radio. And nobody ever put together a station like Dan Lee did. But it was a great thing that he did it. It made my life. And, you know, to all the people that listened to XRT, it was this guy that built that station. And then he decided to build a sports station. So I don't even know if he's in the Chicagoland Sports Hall of Fame, or he should be.
Yeah.
He should be in the Radio Hall of Fame instead of people that are in there.
Right.
And some great personalities. They put the right package together. And the rest is history. I mean, so
yeah. And
she told me that he was proud of me. That's all I had to hear. She says, he was more proud of you than almost anybody he's ever worked with because of how it happened and how it turned out and his selection of me. So, you know, to hear that coming from his widow was pretty cool. And he had nothing but great people. They did the right hires. Him and Seth Mason did the right hires. They did. And that's just the way it is. Because, well, Bruce Wolf will tell you, or anybody that's still around, Chet Kopic said we'd last 6 months. That was the prevailing thing. To me, that's one of the top sports stories over the last 30 years. I mean, you could put the score, which is now, I mean, if somebody told me the station you visioned has the Cubs on it 30 years later, I mean, when I'm on, I'm listening to the Cubs on the radio, you know, a lot of people got employed, you know, most of them, thank God, some of them, you know what I mean? But great station and great story. And we're going to be doing a lot more of that stuff, and we'll see what happens. But BB was the best. For 6 months, you think I'm going to get something? You think I'm going to get every day? She goes, don't worry, you're going to get something. Your talent's too good. She would tell me this. I go, I'm not getting nothing. I never got nothing. Okay, I'll work the hot dog stand, but I don't think I'm going to get none because I had been turned down at the time by LS for doing sports. They hired another guy, good guy, but it turned out to be the break of my life because if I work for LS, I'm done. I don't have that.
Right.
And I mean, and that turned out to be a break for a lot of people. So it's a wonderful story, and I look forward to doing more after the football season, but we'll give you little cuts like that. Great job on the hot dog stand.
Yeah.
We didn't put in the Wendy's that I closed down. We closed down a Wendy's right down the street. It's hard to close down a franchise. We closed them down. That's all I tell everybody.
Yeah, that's quite the accomplishment.
Me and BB.
Doubt.
BB's the best, man. You know that.
Yeah, she certainly.
She could be somebody said to her the other day, aren't you a little young to be here where I live? And they didn't say that to me. I was with her. I must have been the father.
I love it. I love it. All right, it is time to make some money, baby.
Yeah. Listen. We're gonna do some We're gonna do some experimental stuff today.
Oh, cool.
Half a unit. We'll do some football. Okay.
We'll
see where we stand. Now, I'm hearing the Cowboys have 16 players not showing up tonight.
Oh my God.
Okay, 16.
Mm-hmm.
But yet they're only 2-point dogs. Okay, the research I've done, Dallas is to play +2 tonight, and the under 32.5. So let's just do some football. Just put some couch change on. I could lose both, but for people that think preseason football, you can't make money, they tell you what they're going to do. Now, most people, I think, after they hear that 16 players aren't coming for Dallas, will bet Pittsburgh like the Iron Curtain's back or the Steel Curtain, Mean Joe Green's back. I'm going, but to back myself up, and I've been cold lately, folks. It's been a rough baseball time for me the last couple weeks, even on this show. I'm just going to go couch change on this and have some fun and watch the game tonight because I think there's money to be made in preseason football. And we've proven that the last few years, and we've become the dominant on Bears Barroom. There's no doubt. And in the Sun Times first, I became one of the top five handicappers in the nation, and that got ESPN's attention. That's why I'm with the Odds Couple now and Win Daily, where I'm getting ready to be extended, hopefully down the line. Hint, hint. And they've sponsored us. And Johnny Jansen. So God bless everybody. I'll have another show at 11 o'clock, Els. And great job on that cut.
Thank you.
We're going to put that out on regular Twitter by itself, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One.
Put that out on regular Twitter for everybody that doesn't have a chance to listen right now. Right. You'll see, and that will drag some people to this great broadcast that always does great.
That is right. And I just want to remind people, like Mike just said, that at 11 a.m. Central, at the Twitter channel for Win Daily Sports, that's at Win Daily Sports, Monday through Friday. It's Mike and his partner going through a 20-minute show. It's the fast-paced betting show that you just should not miss.
Aldo, you're the best, man. Great job. Keep working, man. Great job from camp.
All right, brother.
Great.
Thank you.
And Bruce Wolf.
All right.